Welcome to Rockstar Doctor Life. I'm Melissa Longo. As a chiropractor, I believe we have the profound ability to impact our communities and people's health on a global level, while also enjoying rich and rewarding personal lives and giving attention to the things that matter to us. Each week, you'll hear an inspiring conversation to give you ideas and insights to rock your practice, pursue your passions, find more connection and meaning in your life, and create a life and business that works for you. Hey there, Rockstar Doctors listening to the show. I'm pleased to introduce you to another Rockstar Doctor, mom this time, not a dad. Dr. Cheryl Schmitt is with us today, and I know we're going to talk about so many different things that are going to make you feel inspired and grounded and just feel like you can do more with your own life. Because when you hear what this woman is up to and the way she is balancing her family, her personal hobbies and her endurance as an endurance athlete, her business life, I think it's pretty cool and very inspiring. So we're going to dig more into your life story and your wit and wisdom, Cheryl. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. You said my life is balanced, and I almost started laughing out loud right there.
Well, see, we're going to talk about, what I loved what you said in the pre-chat is, there was a couple new projects you were wanting to take on, but then you just said, as a mother of four, that some of these things you have to put them on the shelf for a little bit of time and realize that you can't get to everything because it's not what's going to really resonate with you and what you want for your family right now. And I think that's a common juggling act that many of us do, men or male or female. So before we dig into that and your sense of balance and what that looks like for you at any given time, why don't you give our listeners sort of a snapshot of who is Cheryl Schmitt and what you've got going on in your life these days?
Oh, who am I? Well, every day that's different, I guess, because I have so many things going on. I'm a mom of four kids. First and foremost, they are my life, and everything I do is pretty much to make their lives better and to be the mom I want to be to them. I'm a chiropractor. That is a huge passion of mine. I love being a chiropractor. I have been for 18 years now. I've been a mom for almost 14 years. I am an aspiring, I call it triathlete, an endurance athlete. I love doing triathlons. I'm training right now for a long race called the STP out here in the West Coast. It's a Seattle to Portland bike ride. So I'm doing 206 miles over probably 2 days. We were going to try to tackle it in 1 day, but I think 2 days is going to be more pleasurable. What else?
That's a lot. That's already a lot.
I have lots of going on in those three things and the things within those things, which is huge. So,
well, the big thing I think for you is, a lot of families have, 2, 3, 4 kids and even more, but you're choosing to unschool your kids, which makes part of your daily responsibilities, schooling your children. So that's additional responsibility that a lot of docs wouldn't have. Tell us about why you decided to do that. And I'm curious as to what your day looks like then and the logistics side of things.
Okay, so we'll get unschooling. Unschooling, I think, is incredible. I think it is along the lines of a chiropractic philosophy. Chiropractic philosophy, we really believe in trusting our inborn ability to heal. With unschooling, we're trusting our inborn ability and innate ability to learn. So with unschooling, it's a part of homeschooling or a type of homeschooling, but we don't use curriculum. We don't sit down and do classes with our kids and test them on subjects. It's really learning through life. So my day-to-day look at things, it varies from day to day. It varies from what my kids are interested in. It varies on what they are doing. It is harder in a lot of ways because I can't predict what my days are always going to look like or what they're going to want to do. But it's also easier because I have much more flexibility in what we can do. So it's a great way for me to live with my kids and help them to learn on things they're passionate about and help to guide them in their learning, but not have to be that authoritative teacher type schooling environment.
Right. So then do you have certain hours when you are in more of a learning mode, or is it just sort of integrated like, okay, I'm going to make some dinner. Let's go through how to measure things, how to, follow a recipe, how to figure things out that way. Is that what you say when you mean you're just kind of allowing them to learn as you're going through life?
Yeah, pretty much. You just allow them to learn as you're going through life. You involve them in your life. You talk to them about things. You talk to them like adults. I have a 13, almost 14-year-old now. So we have discussions about just life and jobs and skills that you need to have, and what jobs make what kind of money and what kind of skills you need to have for those kinds of jobs. And he's my computer guru. If something goes wrong with my computer, he fixes it for me. I never taught him that stuff. I know nothing about computers. Well, I know a little bit, but he knows way more than me about computers. He actually does video editing for me now. He has his own YouTube channel. So
he's self-taught himself that technology.
Yeah. And so they self-teach themselves pretty much everything. Like, children learn how to talk. They learn how to walk. They learn how to, use scissors. You might give some guidance on them, but they learn how to do these things when they're toddlers and children. As they grow up, it changes in what they want to learn, and you guide them in those things to learn. I mean, they know more things about sharks and dinosaurs, and my 6-year-old knows more about cars and combustion engines and auto parts than I probably will ever know in my life. And I have no idea where he learned that. He just picks things up from watching his dad and watching videos and, looking at books. And yeah, they all have their strengths and what they love to learn about. And it surprises me all the time. And even though we've never done curriculum math with like my 9-year-old, he'll sit in the car and tell me, do math problems with me, throw out some times. So I'll be like, what's 8 times 8? What's 9 times 7? And he'll do the math problems in the back of the car just because he wants to.
Right.
So, you just follow their lead. And as they get a little older, my, almost 14-year-old is starting to get to that age where, like, okay, we're starting to talk more about his future and what he wants to do. So we might start to lead him more into a direction of, these are some skills you really need to start working on now if that's what you want to do.
Right.
So,
and is it something so you and your husband are in practice together. So do you have office hours that complement each other and give you each time to be home with the kids to guide them in their unschooling?
We do. We work opposite days now. So I'm typically in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and he's in on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we flip-flop days that we're in the office, but we still have people that help us. We still have a father-in-law who helps to watch kids because I'm doing things like training. I'm actually trying to do some, social media, actually in the process of creating a podcast myself. So I'm doing things outside of my client hours too, where I'm working, as you know.
Yeah,
we all know that we have hours outside of when we're seeing clients that we have to work. So I have a part-time nanny who comes and helps and watches the kids, and my father-in-law helps out with the kids. So I can do those things as well and have more balance in my life and do things that I want to do and show my kids that they should do things that they want to do too.
Yeah, you're modeling what a healthy overall lifestyle looks like. You're making time for your own athletics and time for business and time for things that make you feel whole as a human being and not just mom and business owner and cook and cleaner and all those other roles that we sometimes play.
Yeah, I've in the last few years, finally I've given myself permission to do those things and not feel guilty about them. And that was a huge thing early on in my practice and early on in motherhood, of thinking that I had to do things a certain way. And if I didn't do them that way, then I'd feel guilty that I was not spending as much time with my kids as I should be, or, letting someone else watch them for 3 or 4 hours in a day. And I should be doing that because I'm their mom and I work these other days. So yeah, it was real freeing to let that go. And then I found myself more, and then I noticed my kids are starting to notice those things. And, 2 of them are saying they want to try to do a triathlon with me. My 9-year-old's already done about 3 triathlons. My little baby girl, she pulled on my cycling shorts the other day and was ready to go out, wanted to go biking with me. So she sees me doing that stuff too. Mm-hmm.
Is that why you got into endurance athletics in the first place, was to give yourself some sense of personal time and a hobby for yourself that was just for you?
Yeah, really. I was really into athletics when I was in high school. But once you get into college, if you don't play college level sports, it's really hard to find other, especially women, to get together with, to do not even competitive sports, but, to run with, or I played basketball and I did a little bit of track when I was in high school, but mostly basketball. I was a figure skater. I showed horses. So I was always really active. Once I got to college, I lost all that. I didn't have the ability to do that because I didn't have the community. So, I mean, it took years. I was 37, 38 when I started to run again. I never ran. I was never a distance runner ever in my life. I never ran over a mile. I thought they were crazy people. I'm like, I do not want to run. You guys who run marathons are insane. I'm not going to do that. So I started doing just training for a 5K. That was like plenty far enough for me. And I did that, and I realized that I was kind of bored with just running. So I had a good friend who I met through the League of Chiropractic Women who was starting a training and coaching business for triathletes and endurance athletes. And she was doing triathlons, and I was seeing a few other people doing triathlons kind of in like my news feed on Facebook. I'm like, yeah, it looks like it might be fun. I might want to try that because it's variety, and I like a little bit of variety. And so I asked her to help me. And lo and behold, I realized I didn't know how to swim. I hardly ever rode my bike. And she trained me up to do triathlons. So I fell in love with triathlons and started doing those. But it was more for me to get back a part of me that I feel like I really lost some of my identity almost as a child, all the way from, I was doing figure skating in like kindergarten. I was doing sports all the way through high school. So I really got a piece of me back, and it ignited a lot more fire in me to do all kinds of other things too.
And so with you training, and you know, you've had some injuries, I'm sure, how has that affected, or has it affected your time in practice at all?
It hasn't really affected my time in practice. I'm still working the same hours. It almost feels like I have more time when I train, because I have to schedule that in more, and it just gives me more energy. It gives me more fire, but I haven't reduced my hours. Like every once in a while I'll change a day because I'm going out of town for a race or something, but I haven't had an injury to the point that I haven't been able to practice or anything like that. So yeah.
Now, you and your husband have been together in practice for 18 years, right? You met in school. I think you graduated the same class, if I'm correct. And you had some time in practice before your children arrived on the scene. Tell us about those early days in your practice, and then how things changed when you had your first child, your son.
Yeah, so because there was two of us when we started out on practice, we did everything on our own. And we worked the same days and the same hours. We were always together. But we would alternate when we saw patients throughout the day. So he would kind of cluster book or book his clients, and I would do like the front desk reception and help people in that avenue. And then we would flop, and I would see clients, and he would help with the front desk stuff and answer phones and do that kind of thing. We found pretty quickly that we both had our strengths and our weaknesses. And at the beginning, it was really hard to work together as complete equals, because we did have strengths and weaknesses, and we had to find those. So we did a little bit of, it was a struggle. We challenged each other quite a bit. And I came out of school, I was 24 years old, and everyone's always told me that I look young for my age. And I look back on my photos when I was 24, and I'm like, man, I look like a baby when I was 24 years old. And my husband is 6'2", and he's a strong guy. So there was a lot of people who automatically came in and assumed I was the receptionist, which, you know, makes complete sense. So I got a little chip on my shoulder because I'm like, I'm a doctor too. I did all this stuff too. Why does he get like more respect than I do? And
yeah.
So that was a struggle at first, but I found just with growing my confidence and my authority, and I had to kind of do some things almost in a more authoritative way than he did to gain authority. But we figured it out and found our strengths and our weaknesses and found our place in practice. But it took probably 2 or 3 years, and then we started hiring people on too, so that helped.
Yeah, I had a male CA for a while, and I loved it, and we had a great relationship. But it was interesting how many people came in, and if we happened to be standing together, they would automatically spoke to me like I was the assistant. and they spoke to Jeff like he was a doctor, and he would look at them and go, no, this is the wrong way. And it was at that point in time, and that was probably about 7 years ago, and I thought it was shocking then, but it still probably happens to a lot of docs.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've heard women chiropractors say similar things, especially when you're on the younger spectrum, probably like 30 and under. It'll happen a little bit more. I think as you get a little bit older or look a little bit older, it happens a little bit less. I don't know if it's just that we look older, unfortunately, but also that our authority is a little bit stronger, maybe for some people at that age. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, I think, for females in practice. I still get sometimes people look at me, and I'm 5'7" 3/4". I'm like 120 pounds. I'm not a big person, and I'll get people come in and say, I don't know if you can actually adjust me. Yeah. So
something that you also mentioned in our pre-chat was that as you and your husband being in practice together have experimented with different scenarios with regards to your hours. Like, what has caused most of those changes in your practice life and how you practice together? Has it been just adjusting to your children and their needs at their time, or were there other demands that made you switch course?
I think a lot of it was adjusting to our children's needs. We had our first child about 4 years into practice. So just knowing that we needed to juggle taking care of our child too. He actually came to the office with me for the first about 2.5 years of his life. And then we started getting help with someone helping to watch him or shifting our hours more so that we could take care of him outside of the office. But that was a major shift, is just wanting to take care of our kids. And then also just knowing that we couldn't be in practice all the time together was healthier for our relationship. And we just did better with having a little bit of division between us at times. And even now our practices, I work Tuesday, Thursday, like I said, and he works Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we don't hardly see any of the same clients. We have really it's like two separate practices under one office, under one roof.
Yeah, so. I mean, I was going to ask you how you balance your personal relationship and your business relationship, because I know we have lots of chiropractic couples listening, and that can sometimes be a challenge, right? Like, you have this business life together and your parents together, and how do you keep your personal relationship as a couple, fresh when you're juggling all these different roles together?
Yeah, it's a good question.
No one has given me a solid answer on it yet. Everyone's trying to figure it out, I think.
We're still trying to figure it out. I think marriage in general is always trying to figure out why you're together. You have to always remember that, why you're together, what your common values are, why you love each other, and just trying to figure things out, because things always change in life. The kids get older, you have conflicts in work, you have conflicts with your children, you have things you want to do that are differently, your goals might shift. So always communicating and knowing that we are a team no matter what, that we love each other and we support each other, and we might have conflicts, but it's not the end of the world. Everybody has a conflict, and we're willing to work always through it. I mean, there's never been anything that we haven't been able to work through. So, and compromise, and just not, we can both be kind of stubborn. Yeah. But each of us knows when we have to give for the other one. And it's marriage is hard, no matter if you're working with someone or not.
Yeah, all relationships are. I think, with our children too, we have these expectations and these ideas of who they're going to be when they're little people, and then they get older and they have real personalities that are a blend of their parents and their environment. And, we're constantly trying to understand. I'm constantly trying to understand my sons and provide for them what they need emotionally. And I think all relationships are an investment of time and energy, definitely. So, you're a self-described introvert. Is your husband also introverted?
He is pretty introverted as well. Yeah. We have a pretty small social circle. We have some real tight friends, but we're not one to get out there. Like he's never done a public talk in 18 years.
Okay.
He's never done something on Facebook. Like if I can get a photo of him, I have to usually sneak it to put it on social media. He's very analytical.
Yeah.
So he's a get down to business, do his job, do it well. He's excels in the details, but he's like, he doesn't have time for all this other like crazy social fluffy stuff. And I hate to say it, marketing, like he leaves, that's my thing. I have to do that. So, but he's very active. He was a professional kneeboarder back in the day before wakeboards were becoming really popular. So he did that. He was a collegiate athlete. He was a pole vaulter, went to nationals in the pole vault. He's very active and very, I don't know what's the word. He's very competitive in that way. But he loves to do things like he's social, but he's quiet.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Well, and that's part of, to be honest, so we talked about this in the pre-chat, I've observed some of the things you've been doing in different groups we're both part of, and I'm, inspired by your athletics and with your mom of 4 kids, and I'm inspired by so many different people. But, when you shared your questions about being an introvert within the profession and how you found it challenging at times, that really got my curiosity, because I know, and looking at the responses in that particular thread on that group, there's a lot of people that share the very same sentiment. So I guess my question for you is what have you learned about how to, build a great chiropractic practice when you said, a lot of things that are required are much more extra than you or your husband are confident with. What have been your success and your tips for handling those kind of situations?
Yeah, I think with us, it's been the key for us in building our practice is to be authentic with ourselves, to be truthful at all times, and to do marketing. I don't want to call it marketing, but to do events, things that we are passionate about and we feel really congruent with. A lot of times we would go to seminars and people will give you all these ideas on marketing events and you would try them, but it just didn't feel right. It just, stroked you the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And those just didn't work. So once we kind of let go of the things that we thought we should do and we concentrate on the things that we really enjoyed doing. And for me, that was really getting involved in things that I like to do and getting to know the people that were also doing those things. So it was all about relationships for me. Mm-hmm. I coach now with Pam Jarbo, and she's also says she's an introvert. And so we have a lot of things in common. And she talks a lot about strategic business alliances. And that's been huge for me, reaching out to people who work with the kind of clientele that I would love to work with and getting to know them on a professional and personal level and creating relationships with people. Mm-hmm. And social media has actually been great because you can get a message out there without having to do it in front of a ton of people. And as a busy person, you can do it on your own time frame. Mm-hmm. And you can reach a lot of people that way.
Yeah.
He coaches. And so he gets a lot of people that he knows through coaching and just being excellent at what he does. He gets tons of referrals. So we're pretty much 100% referral based practice at this point. We do very, very, very little outside marketing.
Mm-hmm. I love what you said about letting go of what you should do, because I think that's something that whether you're introverted or extroverted, whatever your personality is, if you're living a life or trying to grow a business that doesn't resonate with who you are as a human being, if you're just following protocols or scripts or systems that someone else tells you to do, but they don't really fit, and you don't actually maybe articulate them or deliver them in a way that's congruent with who you are, that to me is not a successful way to practice.
No.
Not because it might not work. You might definitely attract people to your practice, but I don't feel like it's an emotionally successful way. It causes a lot more stress for people, which is what I've observed.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel congruent with you and with your soul. And after a while, that'll eat at you, I think.
Mm-hmm. So what does it mean to be successful for Dr. Cheryl?
Oh, well, I mean, success has many different meanings for so many different people. For me, it's just really that I feel that I'm living congruent with my heart and soul, that what I'm doing every day, I'm happy with what I'm doing, that I'm giving back to the people that I love, my family, as well as giving back to my community. I want to make a difference. It's not, I mean, money is great. I love traveling. I love nice stuff, but it's not the end means. I don't want to sort of sell my soul just to have a bank load of money in the bank. So yeah, and amazingly with that, once you become more congruent with yourself and more authentic, then the monetary part really starts to come, and not to be afraid of letting people know who you are. And that's scary, really scary sometimes to let people really in, especially as an introvert, tender-hearted introvert. You're like, really want everyone to love you, but not everyone's going to when you get to know everybody and they get to know you. But yeah, that's part of success, is living true, and just knowing, like, when my days are done, knowing that I lived true to myself and I gave as much as I could give to people to help better their lives.
Yeah, that's something that I think that we can all relate to, and trying to figure out for you and for each and every one of us listening here, what does success look like for each one of us? And it might be different for Cheryl and Melissa and Joe and Sam and Allie. And that's, to me, that's how you find success, is figuring out what matters to you. And if you're inspired by certain material goods, there's no reason why you can't go out and have them, right? But as long as it's because you want them and not because you think you should have them, right? And that goes back to what you said, letting go of what you think you should do and should have. Yeah,
and just not having things just to, be a sign of your superiority or your wealth, or, we do pretty well. My husband actually likes to tinker in building and renovating houses on the side. So we have some rentals. We built our own house. We have some property. We have money in our investments. We're, lined up to retire well. We're doing good. But, we don't drive big fancy cars because they're not good in gas mileage.
Yeah, they don't resonate with who you are and your values, right?
Yeah. So
you sound so sure of who you are, and I'm sure we all have days where we're a little less sure, but you sound really grounded and like you are very clear with who you are. Have you had certain experiences, or I know you mentioned that you work with Pam Jarbo, who I love. But have you had other experiences or work that you've done personally to continue to get to know yourself? I know it's a huge question. I get that. But for docs listening that are thinking, like, how do I get more centered in who I am? What would be your starting point for them?
Oh,
besides your age and wisdom, right? Because that just, as we talked about earlier, it happens when you get older.
A few gray hairs.
Yeah.
I think really for me, the turning point for me was being connected with a League of Chiropractic Women. I have to be completely honest. There was times I really thought about getting out of practice because I didn't think that I was delivering what I should be delivering as a chiropractor, even though I was really doing great. Not everybody was telling their story or their truthful story. And I connected with the League of Chiropractic Women, and there was a host of women who I talked to who were doing all kinds of different practices, all kinds of different volume, all kinds of different lifestyles. Some of them were feeling a little lost. Some of them were happy. But people were being authentic with who they were and what was going on in their life. And it made me feel like, hell yeah, this is really okay. Like, what we are doing is making changes. We are really doing pretty good. And being okay and giving myself permission to be okay with everything that was going on in my life, which actually was pretty decent. Mm-hmm. And then just, reading books and just connecting myself with authentic people and being open to talking to people about things has really, really made a shift.
Yeah, the right people can always help us change course and stay grounded on our course if needed.
Yeah, and they still push you to be the best you that you can be and to reach your goals and set goals. It's not like we're settling for something less. We're looking at what our true values are, what our true priorities are, what we really want, not what we are told we should want, and make sure that we are reaching those goals that are in tune with us, in line with us.
Yeah, and I don't think, I'm glad you said that, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you want less or you have less ambition or less drive. It just means that you found the right people to support you in the way that you best are supported and to help you reach your own goals, whatever that is for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciated your time with us today here, and I know that there has been a ton of value that listeners will get from listening to your story here today. Are there any final words of wisdom you'd like to share with listeners before we sign off here?
Oh, I mean, I think really just make sure you listen to your own heart and soul and try to stay authentic with who you are. And then success will come. And you can't do anything without hard work. Sometimes people think that success just comes easy just by being who you are, but you can do that. That's a great starting stone. But hard work always pays off. And it took us years to get to this point. When we came out of school, we thought that everything we were told, if we did all these things, we would have instant success. And our practice has been a steady, slow, gradual build over 18 years. Every single year has been an increase in patient seen, revenue, everything, just growing slowly over time. Mm-hmm. And people don't think about that. Some people can shoot up and be real successful really fast, but that doesn't always happen. And just being authentic with yourself and giving yourself grace and enjoying life along the way, and reach out to people who are authentic and will support you in your goals.
Yeah, that's well said. A lot of times we think that there's going to be one solution and everything's going to magically turn around, whether it's in your marriage or your health or your business. And you're absolutely right. It's often, what's that quote? The harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
It's staying consistent with your own efforts and never taking that for granted.
Yeah, we have a little sign in our house that just says, work hard and be nice to people.
Yeah. Well, I hope you have a fabulous rest of the day. I know you're going to get on your bike and get out for a whole lot of miles on your bike this afternoon.
Yeah, so I got a 41 miler I'm going to hop on my bike and go do here right away.
Well, wishing you the best of luck in your upcoming race and much success and continued joy in your family life as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Melissa, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here today. If you like this show, please share it with another chiropractor and connect them with this message. We are always better off together than we are alone. If you haven't yet subscribed, head on over to Apple Podcasts or iTunes, and don't forget to rate and review the show while you're there. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram and Facebook, and find out more about today's guests and all things Rockstar Doctor Life by clicking in those show notes. See you next time.